I still remember the sound of the clock ticking. It was 2:30 in the afternoon, and the cake sat untouched on the counter, bright red frosting shaped like a superhero shield. Balloons drifted lazily against the ceiling. My son, Leo, in his favorite blue cape, kept running to the window, whispering, "Are they here yet, Mommy?" They weren't. It was supposed to be a small party, just family. My mom, my sister Vanessa with her 3 kids, and my brother Kyle. 8 people total, counting me and Leo. I'd spent days planning it. The decorations, the games, the matching napkins with little lightning bolts. Leo had helped stir the batter for his cake, grinning so hard I thought his face would crack. "Grandma's gonna love this," he'd said. But by 2:30, no one had shown up. By 3 o'clock, Leo stopped asking. I tried calling, texting, convincing myself something had gone wrong, traffic, confusion, anything. But then I opened my phone and saw it. Vanessa's smiling face on social media, her kids eating ice cream at the zoo. Amazing day with my babies. My stomach dropped. She'd posted it half an hour ago. During the party she'd promised to come to. I called Mom. She answered after the 5th ring. "Oh, hi honey. What's up?" "Leo's party. It started an hour and a half ago." "Oh, was that today? I thought it was next weekend." The invitation said March 11th. Today. Well, I'm at Vanessa's, helping her organize the garage. We must have mixed up the date. She was lying. Vanessa wasn't cleaning a garage, she was at the zoo. "Did anyone plan to come?" I asked. "Don't be dramatic," she said. "These things happen. Leo's 4. He won't remember." Then she hung up. I stood there in my superhero-themed living room, the air heavy with frosting and silence. Leo played quietly with his new action figures, pretending not to notice. That night, I took down the decorations one by one, folded the paper capes, wrapped the untouched food. When I carried the cake to the fridge, it felt like I was putting away a part of myself. On Monday morning, my phone rang again. "Mom." I hesitated before answering. "Hi, honey," she began in that bright, practiced tone. "I've been thinking. Your condo is just perfect for what Vanessa needs." I froze. "What do you mean?" "She has 3 kids, and that little apartment of hers is cramped. Your condo has 3 bedrooms, that nice patio. She could really use the space." "I live here, Mom." "With Leo." "But you only have 1 child," she said, like it was some kind of equation. "Vanessa's family needs it more." My pulse quickened. "Mom, I own this place." "I know, sweetie, but family helps family. You could find a smaller apartment, something more budget-friendly. Vanessa's been struggling and you're doing fine." "Except for being homeless," I said flatly. "Don't be dramatic," she sighed. "You'll find something. You're resourceful." That word, resourceful, felt like a slap. Like she'd already decided for me. "I'm not giving Vanessa my condo." Mom's voice sharpened. "We're not asking you to give it. She'd just take over the payments. Eventually." "Eventually?" I repeated. "So she'd live here, rent-free, until she maybe decides to pay me?" "See?" Mom said brightly. "You understand." "I'm not being reasonable, Mom. I'm being clear." She sighed again. "I'll talk to Vanessa." She really had her heart set on it. Then she hung up. 2 days later, I opened my door and nearly dropped my coffee. Vanessa stood there with her 3 kids and a clipboard. "Hey," she said cheerfully. "We're just here to measure the rooms. Mom said you agreed to let us have the condo. We're moving in tomorrow." I stared at her. "What?" "Thursday's our move date. The truck's already reserved." "Vanessa," I said slowly, "I didn't agree to anything." She blinked. "Mom said you were being reasonable about it." I said no. This is my home. Her oldest, Tyler, was already wandering through the hallway. "This can be my room," he shouted. "Tyler, stop," I said sharply. Vanessa's expression hardened. "Mom said you'd do this, that you'd be selfish. You have 1 kid. I have 3. The math is simple. The ownership is simple," I said quietly. "I own this condo. You can't move in." "But Mom already told our landlord we're leaving. We have to be out by Friday." "That's not my problem." Her jaw tightened. "You're going to regret this. Mom's going to be so disappointed in you." That night, I barely slept. My phone buzzed with missed calls, angry texts. Even Kyle chimed in, just let her have it. It's easier. Easier. For who? By morning, my exhaustion had turned into something colder, resolve. I looked around my condo, the toys, the books, the soft chaos of Leo's life. I wasn't losing this place. Not to them. Not to anyone. And then an idea hit me, wild, maybe even desperate, but perfect. I had an early childhood education degree. I'd been thinking about starting a daycare someday. Why not now? If they wanted my condo so badly, I'd make sure it was mine in every legal, practical, and professional sense. By the end of that day, I'd filed licensing paperwork, scheduled an inspection, and turned half my home into a colorful classroom. Crayons, books, little chairs, it all came together fast, like it was meant to be. And when Vanessa showed up the next afternoon with Mom and a moving truck waiting behind her, I was ready. She pushed the door open and froze. The living room was full of children. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. That was the moment I realized something. They hadn't just underestimated me. They'd forgotten who I was. And that was their mistake. When Vanessa saw the daycare setup, her jaw dropped. What is this?" she stammered. I smiled, too calmly, even for me. "My daycare. Sunny days home learning. We're pre-operational this week. Full license pending." "You're what?" Mom asked, stepping in behind her. Her tone was sharp, like I'd personally insulted her. "My daycare," I repeated. "I'm opening a licensed childcare business here. This is my new career." Vanessa blinked at the tiny tables, the reading nook, the colorful posters on the walls. Her eyes darted to Leo, who was proudly showing another child his superhero figures. "You did this because we were moving in today," she said. I shrugged. "I did this because I wanted to run a daycare. Today just happened to be a good time to start." She turned red. "You did this to keep us out." I met her glare. "I did this to keep a roof over my son's head. And to use my space for something that actually matters." At that moment, a young mother stepped inside, balancing a toddler on her hip. "Hi, you must be Amanda," she said with a warm smile. "Stacy told me you're opening a daycare. The space is perfect. Do you still have room for a 3-year-old? "Yes," I said smoothly, ignoring Vanessa's furious stare. "We have 2 spots left. Let me grab an enrollment form." As I handed over the clipboard, the mother glanced around. "This is wonderful. So much better than the big center my daughter used to go to." Behind her, Vanessa muttered, "This is insane." "Insane?" I said. "Maybe. But legal. I filed the paperwork yesterday." Mom's voice was shrill now. "You can't just turn your home into a business." "Actually," I said, "I can. The HOA allows licensed home-based childcare." I made sure of it. For a moment, the only sound was the laughter of children and the rustling of construction paper. Then Vanessa's oldest, Tyler, tugged on her sleeve. "Mom, can we stay? They have good art stuff here." Vanessa's eyes flashed. "No, we're leaving." "Where are we supposed to go?" she snapped at me. "The movers are outside. Our apartment's empty." "Mom said you." Mom was wrong. Again. "You can't just throw your family out." "I didn't throw anyone out," I said quietly. "You packed your boxes, gave notice, and showed up at my home with a moving truck, assuming I'd surrender it." "That's not on me." Vanessa's voice broke. "We have nowhere to go." I wanted to feel sorry for her. I really did. But then I pictured Leo, standing in his cape on Saturday, waiting for them to walk through the door, his little voice saying, "Are they here yet, Mommy?" And whatever pity I might have had vanished. Before I could answer, another parent arrived, holding her son's hand. "Oh, is this the new daycare? Bethany told me about it. Do you have infant spaces?" "Not yet," I said, my voice steady, almost confident. "But I'm considering expanding by summer. Leave your info and I'll reach out." The woman smiled and handed me a card. She stepped around Vanessa, who looked like she might explode. Mom, meanwhile, had pulled out her phone. "This is ridiculous. I'm calling the HOA." "Go ahead," I said. "I filed everything properly. Emergency approval. I have my degree, my credentials, my inspection scheduled. You can call whoever you like." Mom's eyes narrowed. "You're being spiteful." "No," I said softly. I'm being practical. Leo ran over then, holding a crayon drawing. Mommy, look. I made this with my new friend Jake. I crouched down, forcing a smile. That's beautiful, buddy. Is this our house now with all the kids? Yes, I said, looking up at my mother and sister. This is our home. And our school. Leo grinned. I love it. The sound of a truck horn interrupted us. The driver leaned through the doorway. Ma'am, we're on the clock. Are we moving stuff in or not? Vanessa hesitated, glancing around at the colorful chaos, the little chairs, the children laughing. She looked lost, like she'd just realized the plan had fallen apart. No, she said finally. We're not moving in. The driver shrugged. You sure? Got a full truck out here. She shook her head, eyes glassy. There's nowhere to put it. Mom started to cry then. How could you do this to your sister? I straightened. How could you give away my home without asking me? How could you lie about Leo's birthday and pretend it didn't matter? She has 3 children, Mom said through tears. And now 9 children use this space every day, I said. That's better math. Another parent arrived, smiling brightly. Hi, Amanda. I'm Karen. We spoke this morning. I brought the enrollment forms. Wonderful, I said, stepping aside. Come in. Karen's eyes widened as she looked around. This is even better than I imagined. So organized, so bright. My daughter will love this. Mom and Vanessa stood frozen in the doorway as I guided Karen toward the sign-in table. Can she start Monday? Karen asked. Absolutely. Behind us, Tyler started to cry. Mom, I want to stay and play. Tyler, come on, Vanessa said, dragging him toward the door. But this is Aunt Amanda's house. Can't we visit? I knelt to his level. You can visit Leo on weekends if your mom says it's okay, I said gently. But during the week, this is a school. He sniffled. Can I go to school here? Vanessa's face hardened. No, we're leaving. She pulled him away, her 2 younger kids following behind. Mom stayed long enough to hiss, this isn't over. Yes, I said quietly. It is. When the door closed behind them, I exhaled for the first time in days. My hands were shaking, but for once, it wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. Angela, my friend and mentor, came out from the art corner. That was intense. I nodded. Necessary. Think they'll come back? She asked. Probably, I said. But it won't matter. Now I have paperwork, permits, and purpose. They can't take this from me. Leo climbed into my lap. Mommy, I like having friends here every day. I kissed the top of his head. Me too, buddy. Is Grandma mad? She'll get over it. Are my cousins mad? They'll be okay. Leo smiled. Good. I like our new schoolhouse. I looked around at the bright walls, the laughter, the chaos that finally made sense. Our new schoolhouse, I whispered back. Our protected space. Our home. And for the first time in a long time, I meant every word. For 2 weeks, things were quiet. Too quiet. Then the letters started coming. First, it was a concerned neighbor complaining about the number of cars parked on my street. Then a formal notice from the HOA, possible violation of residential zoning restrictions. And finally, an envelope with my mother's handwriting on it, thick with self-righteousness. I didn't even have to open it to know what it said. Still, I did. And there it was. You have until the end of the month to vacate or face legal action for operating an unauthorized business on family property. Family property. The irony almost made me laugh. I called the number at the bottom, my mother's lawyer, of course. He sounded apologetic but firm. Ms. Daniels, your mother and sister are co-signers on the property deed. Technically, they have the right to challenge your use of it for commercial purposes. I hung up without responding. That night, after the kids went home and Leo was asleep, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the wall of crayon art we'd hung that week. Tiny handprints, glitter hearts, construction paper suns. Everything I'd built, every bit of stability, was hanging by a thread. When the phone rang, I didn't look at the screen before answering. Still playing teacher? Vanessa's voice oozed smugness. What do you want? To make you an offer, she said sweetly. Mom and I talked. You give us half of what you make from your daycare, and we'll let you stay. That way, everyone wins. I laughed. You want to profit off my business now? It's not your business if it's on our property. I felt my pulse quicken. You didn't care about this house when you left for college. You didn't care when I was drowning in bills trying to keep the lights on. You don't get to swoop in now because I finally made it work. Her tone hardened. You're being selfish. Mom said you'd act like this. You always think you're the victim. I was the victim, I said quietly. Until I stopped letting you make me one. She sighed dramatically. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, and hung up. The next morning, 2 inspectors showed up, clipboards, measuring tapes, the works. Someone had filed a complaint. I already knew who. They looked around, asked a few questions, and one of them smiled. Actually, this looks great. You're compliant. Don't worry about the complaint, we'll file a positive report. When they left, I stood in the doorway, hands trembling with relief. For the first time in weeks, I felt like the ground under me might hold. Until my mother showed up that evening. She didn't knock. She just walked in, like she still owned the air in my lungs. You've embarrassed this family enough, she said. Neighbors are talking. Vanessa's children are heartbroken. What you're doing isn't right. What I'm doing, I said slowly, is raising my son and running an honest business. You could have done that anywhere else. This is my anywhere else. She looked around, taking in the toys, the play mats, the shelves of picture books. You've turned this house into a circus. A circus of laughter, I said. Of second chances. You always twist things to make yourself the hero, she said, voice trembling. Because for once I am, I said quietly. Her face twisted in something between anger and disbelief. I should have known. You always had to make everything about you. I felt the tears before I realized I was crying. Mom, you already chose her over me my whole life. But you don't get to take Leo's home too. For a moment, she just stared. Then she whispered, You'll destroy yourself trying to prove you're better than her. I'm not better, I said. I'm just done being smaller. She turned and left without another word. After the door closed, I sat on the floor beside the block tower Leo had built earlier. My heart hurt in ways I didn't have words for. But under the ache, there was something else too, something steadier. Resolve. That night, I emailed the county clerk's office and filed to transfer full ownership of the property into my name. Grandpa had left the house jointly to the 3 of us, but I'd paid the taxes, the repairs, the mortgage since his death. There was a clause in the will, one I remembered from the dusty papers he'd shown me once, about primary residence inheritance rights. It might work. It might not. But I was done waiting for permission to exist. The following morning, Angela stopped by with coffee and news. So, rumor has it, your sister tried to get you reported again, something about safety violations. The inspector told her to stop wasting their time. I laughed, a sharp sound that surprised both of us. Let them try. Every time they push, they just prove I'm worth fighting for. Angela smiled. That's the spirit. But as the days passed, the attacks shifted. Online reviews popped up under fake names calling my daycare unsafe, poorly run, chaotic. My phone started ringing with hang-ups. One morning, someone threw a bag of trash across the yard. Vanessa was escalating. One afternoon, after nap time, I found Leo standing at the window, frowning. Mommy, why is Grandma's car outside again? I froze. She was parked across the street, watching. For half an hour. Then an hour. I closed the curtains and sat beside him, forcing a smile. She's probably just running errands nearby. He nodded, satisfied. But I knew better. That night, I got an email from the lawyer again, pending court hearing for property usage rights, Daniels versus Daniels. They were suing me. I sat there staring at the screen, the glow painting my face in cold blue light. For a long time, I didn't move. Then I whispered, so this is war. And deep down, a small, trembling part of me, one I hadn't felt in years, smiled. Because for the first time, I wasn't afraid of losing them. I was ready to fight. The courthouse smelled like old paper and floor polish. My palms were slick as I sat on the bench outside the courtroom, clutching a folder full of permits, inspection reports, and pictures of smiling children holding finger paint masterpieces. Leo's drawing was on top, a stick figure version of us standing in front of our house, labeled home. It wasn't just a hearing. It was the moment my entire life balanced on the edge of a gavel. Angela squeezed my shoulder. "You've got this," she whispered. I nodded, though my throat felt tight. "I have to." When the door opened and the clerk called our case, Daniels versus Daniels, my stomach flipped. My mother and Vanessa were already at the table, their lawyer standing between them like a human shield made of money and pride. Mom didn't look at me. Vanessa did, though. Her smile was thin and triumphant, the same one she used to wear in high school when she'd take credit for something I did. The judge entered. A gray-haired woman with kind but unreadable eyes. "Let's make this quick," she said. "Family cases are never easy, but we'll handle this fairly." Their lawyer started first. He talked for nearly 15 minutes, listing property rights, deed shares, and zoning restrictions as if compassion were just a technicality. When it was my turn, I stood, my knees weak but my voice surprisingly steady. "Your Honor," I began, "this isn't just a property. It's my son's home. I've paid every bill for the past 6 years. I've maintained it, repaired it, turned it into something meaningful. I followed every law to open a licensed daycare, not a business empire, just a safe place for children." The judge raised an eyebrow. "And you're operating legally?" "Yes, ma'am," I said, handing over the folder. "All permits, inspections, and insurance are here." Vanessa leaned forward, her voice sharp. "She did it to keep us out. She didn't want to share." "Share," I said, turning toward her. "You mean move in without asking? Take over the only place I've managed to make stable since Grandpa died?" Mom flinched slightly, but Vanessa didn't back down. "You've always been dramatic." I smiled sadly. "And you've always mistaken boundaries for drama." The judge looked through my documents for what felt like forever. Then she turned to my mother. "Mrs. Daniels, do you contribute financially to this home?" Mom hesitated. "No, but—" "And you, Ms. Vanessa Daniels?" "No, but it's still ours." "It appears," the judge interrupted, "that the defendant has been the sole contributor to mortgage, taxes, and maintenance for over 6 years. Under the primary residence clause in the late Mr. Daniels' will, that gives her full claim." Vanessa's jaw dropped. "That's not fair." The judge's voice softened. "Fairness is rarely what brings families to court. But law is law." I didn't breathe. I didn't dare move until she continued. "I hereby grant full ownership of the property to Amanda Daniels." It took a second for the words to sink in. Then another second before I realized I was crying. Mom's face was pale. Vanessa whispered something angry under her breath, grabbed her bag, and stormed out. Mom followed, slower, but she didn't look back. When the judge adjourned, I just sat there, gripping the folder to my chest like a lifeline. Angela laughed quietly beside me. "You did it." I exhaled, shaky but smiling. "No," I said softly. "We did it." Outside the courthouse, the sun felt warmer than it had in months. I called Leo's preschool teacher, the one who helped watch him on daycare days. "Can you tell him Mommy's coming to pick him up early?" When I arrived, he ran to me, cape fluttering behind him. "Mommy, did we win?" I crouched down, tears blurring my vision. "Yeah, baby. We won." He grinned. "So the bad guys lose?" I laughed through the tears. "Something like that. We went for ice cream. Chocolate for him, vanilla for me. He smeared half of his across his cheeks, and I didn't care. For the first time in forever, I didn't feel like I was holding my breath. When we got home, the house looked the same, bright, messy, full of laughter, but something inside it felt lighter, freer. On the kitchen counter, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Just one line. "I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a long time before typing back. "I finally am." Weeks passed. The daycare flourished. Parents kept referring new families. I even had a waiting list. Every morning, kids filled the rooms with noise and life, and every evening, I sat on the porch with Leo, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. One night, he leaned against me and said, "Mommy, our house sounds happy now." I smiled. "Yeah, it does." He tilted his head. "Do you think Grandma will come back?" I thought about it for a long moment. "Maybe. But even if she doesn't, we'll be okay." He nodded, satisfied. "Because we have our schoolhouse." "Yes," I whispered. "Because we have our schoolhouse." That night, after putting him to bed, I walked through each room, the art corner, the reading nook, the play kitchen. Every toy, every drawing, every tiny shoe on the floor told a story of something rebuilt from ashes. And when I stood by the window and looked out at the quiet street, I thought about how close I'd come to losing it all. But I hadn't. I'd fought back. I'd stayed standing. I'd chosen myself finally. I whispered into the dark, "This is home." And for the first time in my life, it didn't feel like I was claiming something that could be taken away. It felt like the truth.